Okay, so when we left off, we were down here in the descriptive statistics, and now we're going to create the figures that we'll need in order to put it into these individual ones. As part of your assignment, you need to be able to plot the dependent variable versus your 4 independent variables. So I have 4 figures in this template document. These are just this one relationship that we had that I used in the PowerPoint file. I just kind of put that in the table here as a placeholder, and so we'll delete that and insert the figure that we create now. So let's go to SPSS. Notice we still have the output file. Your figures are going to be put into this output file, and so that you need to save it, and then you need to keep that because you may have to come back to it and edit the figures for sometimes it's labels, sometimes it's the magnitude or the range that you have on the side. So let's go to the graphing functions. So if you click into the SPSS spreadsheet, you'll get the graphs option. Go to legacy dialogues, and then go to the scatter or dot plot option. Just click a simple scatter plot and go. The y-axis is always the dependent variable, so here we're going to do incidents per station, our dependent variable. The x-axis, for this first one I'm going to use that 1000 dependent variable that we included, so I'm going to transfer that over. You don't need to really do set markers by or label cases or anything like that. We can change a lot of that once we get into the format. So just click OK, and you'll notice at the end we should get, wow, it's taking a long time to run the graph. I don't know why. Let me pause and I'll start back up whenever it's done. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it took so long, but we needed to figure this, and we got the plot, and so now we need to put it in a format that we like or that is acceptable. So let me show you how to do that. It's with the editor menu. Okay, to get to the editor menu, all we do is move your cursor to the figure or the plot and double click. And what that does is it brings up this editor menu, and so we can put that up in the corner and expand it as such. And so you'll see 2 different things going on here. You'll see the editor where we're going to be making changes, but you also see this properties menu that pops up, and we'll change different things. One thing that I always like to do, I hate kind of square plots for whatever reason. I always think that kind of twice as long as wide looks a little bit better. So I always do 300 by 600 width on the pixels. So click off maintain aspect ratio, keep resize elements, and just apply that. And that looks a little bit better. You can go through, if you single click on this, you can then get up here and move your cursor over one of these squares, and you can kind of bring that in a little bit. That gives us a little bit better look with respect to the side. Next thing we might want to do, we're going to have to put some labels in here, but let's start with the figures first. These are always kind of ugly, and so actually this is always an issue. If you can change 1 or 2 or all, so let's just click out. Click in 1 gets you all of them. If you then click in 1 in particular again, then you can change that 1. All right. So let's click on all of them. I want to change the shape and then the size of these. So then go to wherever and double click. All right. So once you get there, we'll change the marker. X's are always good, but you have 4 different plots. So do some in X's, do some in like pluses, some in maybe triangles, or some in these little, 5-point stars, or these kind of tri-bar things or whatever. Do them in different ones. I always like to make these bigger. We don't have many observations here. We only have 47, so we can make these reasonably large. So let's make it an X with, I don't know, and let's make the border width 2 and apply and see what that does. See how that looks better? It gives us a real sense of the observations and a better sense of the dispersion. So that looks good to me. as far as the labels, let's do NFIRS basic incidents per, let's do per station. And then let's do here, click on it once, click on it twice, population per square mile. Good. And because we divide that by thousands, let's put, you can always do that kind of bracket and then do zeros, you know, how many you've divided it by. Okay, good. Now that gets us there. The one thing that I think is really important when we're presenting graphs is getting the correct range on these. The computer will do it for you automatically, but I always like to double check that. So I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so when you want to do these axis scales, I always try to do a quick double check, and so I'm going to show you what I normally do there. We've made some simple changes to the image editor, so let's close those for now. We can always get back to this. And let's go back up to the descriptive statistics table that we had here. We had the mean value here, and the maximum. Yeah, this isn't going to quite work. Let's take a look at what we need to do for the dependent variable. I always try to go out there and present the mean plus 3 standard deviations and use that as a simple rule of thumb. So for this one, let's take the mean value is 95.8, so it's essentially 96 plus 3 times the dependent variable, and that's 38, or 3 times the standard deviation, which is times 38. And if I add that together, it says about 210. So the upper bound somewhere around 200, 210. The lower bound in this case, if we took 95 minus 3 times 40, we're going to have a negative value. Obviously, negative values don't make any difference, make any sense really here. So what we'll do is we'll do a range between 0 and 210. Sometimes the other ones don't make quite as much sense. What we'll see is we've got, like here, we've got a really skewed situation because we've got one outlier here. So what I would do here, let's just quickly do the upper bound and I'll show you what the problem there is. So the mean is about 1.97, so we'll say the mean is 2 plus 3 times the standard deviation is about 1.8. We'll just call that 2. And so the upper bound should be about 8. Right? But if we put it at 8, then we would miss this one that's out there above 10. So what we'll do is we'll just do the maximum value on that continuum instead. So we'll do from 0 to 12, kind of like the way it is right now. Actually, these probably don't look too bad on that basis. We could do a little bit more. Let me go up here, go to the scale. The way that you change the scale is by this. So maybe we'll keep the minimum value at 0, and to make sure that we have the full range, maybe I do 225 to pick up that 210, and then I do it in like 25 increments. Sometimes you can adjust the margin. It'll put a margin in for you. I like to keep those small, so I apply them 1% if I do them at all, and that kind of changes the scale. One thing that I don't particularly like about this is the trailing digits, and that may be something that we can fix or maybe not. So let me stop and pause and see if I can figure it out. Okay, so I figured it out. What it was, if we want to get rid of these trailing zeros, these decimal places, you have to go into Edit, select the Y-axis, and it brings up this slightly different menu. And in this menu, it'll have number format. And number format up here, so it has labels and ticks and number format. We can just change that decimal places to 0 and apply it. Okay. So let's do the same thing down here. There, maybe I don't want both digits, so what I'll do is I'll show you how to do it again. I'll single click on this, I'll go to edit, select, actually selected the wrong one, go to edit, select x-axis, and then decimal places, maybe I change that to 0 and apply. And close. Actually, I kind of liked it with at least 1, so let's put 1 decimal place in there. Okay, good. And then let's do double click and let's go to the scale. And the scale increment, we're going to go to 0 to 12 with major increments of 2. I want to make that 1, 0, and let's change those to 1% as well. Okay, good. So we have a pretty simple plot. Let's fix one other thing that's kind of ugly here. Here I always kind of change these to be 11s in bold. Make these 11s in bold, which is I think what they are already. In bold. Put bold back. And then I'll click on the numbers, and let's make those 11 as well. It's good to have the numbers a little bit bigger so that people can see them, especially old folks like me, maybe. Okay, good. So this is a pretty basic plot. It has the full range. It has some scaling that makes sense. We can do this 225, 0 to 225 with the 225 increments. And N for basic incidents per station, population per square mile in this case. Let's close it out. We have a figure. Let's get ready to export this monster.